Hello, this is cjhoyle. In this video, I'm going to share an important quirk to be aware of when it comes to the sizing of tires and inner tubes for bicycles. This tip specifically applies to tire sizes which are measured in inches, such as the 26-inch tires on this mountain bike or the 20-inch tires on this folding bike. So if you look on the side of a bike tire, the sizing is usually provided as two numbers. This mountain bike, for example, says 26 by 2.1. 26 is the approximate diameter of the wheel in inches, and 2.1 inches is the approximate width of the tire when it's fully inflated. But this second number also contains another secret detail, which I'll come back to in a moment. So here's another example of a 26-inch wheel, but this one has a tire with a width of only 1.5 inches. And as you can see, it's much narrower than the 2.1-inch example. But the diameter is still essentially the same, and these two wheels use the same size of rims. So if I wanted narrower tires on this bike, I could remove this tire from the rim and install this one in its place, and everything should fit correctly. So the conclusion is that the tire width doesn't matter when it comes to the compatibility of tires and rims. But there's a slight exception to this rule, and I've got another 26-inch tire here to illustrate this. If I lay this tire in front of this other 26-inch wheel, we can pretty clearly see that it's not going to fit because the inner diameter is too big. I placed the tire inside of a spare 26-inch rim, which is the same as the other, to make it even easier to see this. To understand why, let's take a look at the size of this tire. On the side it says 26 by 1 3/8. And so the hidden detail that I alluded to earlier is that the width dimension can be expressed as either fractions or decimals, and these come from two different standards which are not compatible with one another. So to simplify this, a tire that has fractional inches will not fit onto a rim which is designed for decimal inches, or vice versa. The same is true for inner tubes. Inner tubes are marked in the same way as tires, except they usually specify a range of different widths of tires that the inner tubes are compatible with. This 26-inch inner tube, for example, says it will work with tires which range from 1.9 to 2.125 inches wide. So because the 2.1 listed on the side of the tire is within that range, this inner tube is the correct size for this tire. But again, that only works because the numbers are expressed in decimal notation on both. In contrast, I have two 20-inch inner tubes here, and the one on the left has the sizing expressed as fractions as 20 by 1 3/8. The inner tube on the right, however, says that it's good for tires within the range of 1.25 to 1.5, and it would be really easy to make the mistake of assuming the one on the right is a suitable replacement for the one on the left. Because when you convert 1 3/8 to decimal, you get 1.375, which falls perfectly in the middle of the range that this inner tube is designed for, right? But again, these inner tubes belong to two different standards, and if I compare them side by side, we can clearly see that the fractional size one is larger, and these two inner tubes are not compatible with each other. So obviously this seems really unintuitive, but all that you really need to remember is that these are two separate systems which should not be mixed. So if you have a tire or inner tube where the size is expressed as decimals, don't make the mistake of trying to replace it with one which has fractions. The reason for this discrepancy is due to a lack of standardization many years ago. Modern bicycles typically use decimal sizing exclusively, but if you're ever working on an older bike like this Cruiser from the 1970s, there's a good chance that you'll encounter fractional inch sizing. The fractional inch size tires and tubes which fit this bike are still readily available, which is why I bought this new tire that inspired me to make this video. But not all bike tires are measured in inches. There are some modern tire sizes which are always measured in millimeters, such as the 700C tires on this hybrid bike. But thankfully the millimeter sized tires have been much better standardized, and we don't need to worry about fractional versus decimal sizing. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful, and thanks for watching.